Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Isaac Hadden Studio V Live.
how do you navigate individual creative visions within that? Like everybody might see something in a different way when you're composing new music.
The thing with us is like, first of all, everyone's pretty easy to get along with. Like, it's good people, and also it's like I think we've all just been doing it long enough and around long enough that we, are kind of there's just we know when to step back, and I think there's also just a lot of like mutual respect in this band. Like, what I mean? Like from my perspective, it's like Iaji and Bill, they've been playing music longer than I've been alive, and that we just we have kind of just established like a lot of trust together. Like, we all really like how each other sounds, and uh we just kind of it's never really been a huge issue.
Right. Okay. So when you went into the studio, were all these songs road tested?
Some were and some weren't. This first record, we really just were like, we need to get something out. So some of them were like slightly road tested, and we changed them in the studio. Some we had played quite a bit and gotten them tight, and then others we kind of wrote during the session. We may take a different approach on this next record, like because we've written a lot of new tunes here lately that we just haven't gotten around to recording. So they kind of just happened to have the opportunity for more road testing, but it was kind of, I'd say, 50-50.
When you are in the studio, how much time? Like I hear bands say we nailed everything. We knew we were on the clock. We had to go in there, lay the song down. How much space did you allow for yourself to allow the song to change and breathe and grow, maybe even in the studio?
Well, the beautiful thing about having a band member that owns a studio is we weren't really, he graciously let us use the studio for pretty much however long we
It took,
needed.
right?
And it's super cool of them because I mean, studio time is a very valuable thing. But yeah, we didn't really limit ourselves too much. The nice thing is just like playing with those guys. They're just like consummate pros, and like we could, once we had everything figured out, we could kind of nail all the tunes in like a couple takes. So there wasn't like a ton of time being spent like screwing things up, which
Right.
was awesome. So we all just kind of stayed on our toes, and it didn't take a long time, but we weren't really limited by like being on the clock or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So improvisation. Let's get into a little bit about that. I guess it goes hand in hand with collaboration and the trust that you were talking about. But does your creative process differ when you're walking on stage and you know you're going to improvise, or you don't know the song, than say walking in a studio?
um that's a good question, man. I'm trying to think about how best to explain this. I would say like in certain ways it does, and in certain ways it doesn't. Like, it also kind of depends on what I'm recording. Like, we're for the trio stuff, like a lot of what got recorded was pretty spontaneous, and that's the way a lot of these tunes are written too. There's lots of space to just like let things grow and develop, and we some of these like more open sections tend to evolve into all kinds of things. So definitely with that kind of thing, and any of like my own projects, it definitely is kind of a more spontaneous in the moment sort of approach. Like, I try to be prepared and like know like the form of the tune, and know like important elements. But as far as like I definitely could not like replicate the solos that I played on that record without going back and like relearning them. That's all just completely improvised. And I would say 98% of what I do is like that. I do like some session work here and there for different people, and like, you know, I've recently played on this more kind of like country record, and that was like a little bit more of a structured thing. Like I had some solidified ideas that I put down just because that was what the music called for. But you know, it's like when I'm playing in kind of the like jam band adjacent circle that I'm in, it's like, you know, you can never go in with too much of like an expectation or too much of like you know, you don't want to really exactly, yeah, yeah, exactly. So so I'd say in that way it's similar between like going into the studio and just jumping on stage with some random band I met 5 minutes ago. But I'd say the ways that it differs is just like in the studio you have time to, you know, it's the blessing and a curse. You have time to kind of listen back and rework and sort of rethink your approach and try out a lot of different, you have the freedom to experiment a lot more. And definitely I take a fairly, you know, free to experiment approach on stage too, but it's a little bit different just because it's like there's no punching in on the stage. You know, you can't be like, oh, that was bad, let me retract that, you know. So it's like you don't necessarily play it safe as much, but you definitely, I tend to, you know, lean on certain things that I just lean on what's more comfortable, I guess. But I would say ultimately it's all just making music.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.